What's up everyone, and welcome to this week's Cybersecurity Weekly, where we review the security events that happened in the last week. As always, I've broken them down in the timeline so you can just jump around as you see fit. If you find my work valuable, of course, I ask you to hit the like button, and if not already, subscribe to my channel.
Oh, drat these computers. They're so naughty and so complex. I could pinch them.
We start off with patches. Western Digital has released updates for its SanDisk SecureAccess software to fix multiple vulnerabilities that can be exploited to access user data by carrying out brute force and dictionary attacks. The SanDisk SecureAccess software, now rebranded SanDisk Private Access, allows storing and protecting critical and sensitive files on SanDisk USB flash drives. The flaw ties the way the libraries handle DER-encoded DSA or RSA-PS signatures in email clients and PDF viewers using vulnerable NSS versions. The vulnerability was discovered by Project Zero researchers Tavis or Mandy. The access to a user's private vault is protected by a personal password, and all the files are automatically encrypted. According to the vendor, SanDisk SecureAccess version 3.02 was using a one-way cryptographic hash with a predictable salt. This means that the software is vulnerable to dictionary attacks. The software also uses a password hash with insufficient computational effort. As a consequence, an attacker can brute force user passwords, leading to unauthorized access to user data. SanDisk SecureAccess 3.02 was using a one-way cryptographic hash with a predictable salt, making it vulnerable to dictionary attacks by a malicious user. The software also made use of a password hash with insufficient computational effort that would allow an attacker to brute force user passwords, leading to unauthorized access to user data, reads the advisory published by SanDisk. The vulnerabilities struck to CVE 2021-36750 were discovered by researcher Sylvain Pellissier. Western Digital addressed the issue with the release of SanDisk Private Access version 6.3.5. The key derivation function issues have been addressed by using PBKDF2-SHA256 together with a randomly generated salt, continues the advisory. Mozilla released security updates to address multiple vulnerabilities in the Firefox browser and Thunderbird mail client. The company addressed 13 vulnerabilities in the Firefox browser with the release of Firefox 95, including 6 high-severity flaws. The most severe of these flaws can allow an attacker to execute arbitrary code within the context of the vulnerable application, which could potentially lead to full system compromise. Firefox fixed an URL leakage when navigating while executing asynchronous function, tracked to CVE 2021-43536. Under certain circumstances, asynchronous functions could have caused a navigation to fail but expose the target URL, reads the advisory published by Mozilla. Another bug fixed with the latest release is a missing full screen and pointer lock notification when requesting both, which is marked as CVE 2021-43538. An attacker can misuse a race in the notification code to forcefully hide the notification for pages that had received full screen and pointer lock access, which can be exploited for spoofing attacks. Another vulnerability addressed by Mozilla is a GC rooting failure when calling WASM instance methods, tracked as CVE 2021-43539. Other high-severity issues patched by the company affect Firefox, Firefox ESR, and Thunderbird. Mozilla also fixed memory safety bugs in the Firefox 95 and Firefox ESR 91.4 that could lead to arbitrary code execution. The U.S. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency issued an advisory to urge organizations to apply the security patches. We move on to attacks, vulnerabilities, and updates. The new ALPHV ransomware operation, aka BlackCat, launched last month and could be the most sophisticated ransomware of the year, with a highly customizable feature set allowing for attacks on a wide range of corporate environments. The ransomware executable is written in Rust, which is not typical for malware developers, but is slowly increasing in popularity due to its high performance and its memory safety. Malware Hunter team found the new ransomware and told Bleeping Computer that the first ID ransomware submission for the new operation was on November 21st. The ransomware is named by the developers as ALPHV and is being promoted on Russian-speaking hacking forums. Malware Hunter team named the ransomware BlackCat due to the same favicon of a black cat being used on every victim's Tor payment site, while the data leak site uses some bloody dagger that's shown in another image. Like all ransomware as a service operations, the ALPHV BlackCat operators recruit affiliates to perform corporate breaches and encrypt the devices. The ALPHV BlackCat ransomware includes numerous advanced features that let it stand out from other ransomware operations. The ransomware is entirely command line driven, human operated, and highly configurable with the ability to use different encryption routines spread between computers, kill virtual machines and ESXi VMs, and automatically wipe ESXi snapshots to prevent recovery. Each ransomware executable includes a JSON configuration that allows customization of extensions, ransom notes, how data will be encrypted, excluded folders, files, and extensions, and the services and processes to be automatically terminated. According to the threat actor, the ransomware can be configured to use 4 different encryption modes, as described in their recruitment post on a dark web hacking forum. Operating systems that the threat actors allegedly tested the ransomware on include all lines of Windows from 7 and higher, tested on 7, 8.1, 10, 11, 2008 R2, 2012, 2016, 2019, 2022, XP, and 2003 that can be encrypted over SMB. ESXi, tested on 5.5, 6.5, 7.0.2 U, Debian, tested on 7, 8, and 9, Ubuntu, tested on 18.04 and 20.04, and Ready NAS, as well as Synology. Accenture researchers detailed the activity of a sophisticated, financially motivated threat actor called Karakurt. The activity of the group was first spotted in June 2021, but the group has been more active in the third quarter of 2021. In June 2021, the gang registered the domains hosting its leak sites karakurt.group and karakurt.tech, while in August, the group registered a Twitter account with the handle Karakurtelair. The group focuses on data theft and extortion, but the researchers pointed out that it doesn't use ransomware. Between September 2021 and November 2021, the group hit over 40 victims across multiple industries. The actors focus almost exclusively on data exfiltration and then extortion, and are not using ransomware to lock their victims' files. Accenture Security has identified a new threat group, the self-proclaimed Karakurt hacking team, that has impacted over 40 victims across multiple geographies. The threat group is financially motivated, opportunistic in nature, and so far appears to target smaller companies or corporate subsidiaries versus the alternative big game hunting approach, reads the analysis published by Accenture. Based on intrusion analysis to date, the threat group focuses solely on data exfiltration and subsequent extortion rather than the more destructive ransomware deployment. Most of the known victims, 95%, are based in North America, while the remaining 5% are in Europe. The analysis of the attack chain associated with this threat actor revealed that it primarily leverages VPN credentials to gain initial access to the target's network. In the initial attacks, the group gained persistence by using the popular post-exploitation tool Cobalt Strike. In recent attacks, the group switched to VPN IP pools or AnyDesk software to establish persistence and avoid detection. Once gained access to the target network, the group uses various tools to escalate privileges, including Mimikatz by PowerShell to steal ntds.dlt that contains Active Directory data. However, the threat group in most attacks escalated privileges using privileged obtained credentials. For data exfiltration, the group has been seen utilizing 7-zip and WinZip for compression, as well as rclone and FileZilla SFTP to upload data to Mega.io cloud storage. The report includes minor attack tactics and techniques observed for this threat actor, along with suggested mitigations, so I just suggest you check that out. Chinese security researchers P0RZ9 publicly disclosed a proof-of-concept exploit for a critical remote code execution zero-day vulnerability tracked to CVE 2021-44228, aka Log4Shell, in the Apache Log4j Java-based logging library. My entire week last week and weekend was blown up with this vulnerability, from all clients asking whether or not they are affected. P0RZ9 revealed that the CVE 2021-44228 can only be exploited if the log4j2.format message no lookups option is set to false. The log4j is widely used by both enterprise apps and cloud services, including Apple iCloud and Steam, so this is huge. A remote unauthenticated attacker can exploit the CVE 2021-44228 to execute arbitrary code on a vulnerable system, leading to a complete system takeover. The vulnerability was discovered by researchers from Alibaba Cloud's security team that notified the Apache Foundation on November 24th. According to the experts, the vulnerability is easy to exploit and does not require special configuration. For this reason, it received a CVSSS version 3 score of 10 out of 10. Researchers pointed out the Apache Struts 2, Apache Solar, Apache Druid, Apache Flink are all affected by this vulnerability. Now, researchers from cybersecurity firm Cybereason have released a script that works as a vaccine dubbed Log4Shell that allows remotely mitigating the Log4Shell vulnerability by turning off the trust URL codebase setting in vulnerable instances of the library. While the best mitigation against this vulnerability is to patch Log4j to version 2.15.0 and above, in Log4.j version less than 2.10, this behavior can be mitigated by setting system property Log4j2 to .format message no lookups to true by removing the JNDI lookup class from the class path. Additionally, if the server has Java runtime greater than or equal to 8U121, then by default the settings com.sun.jndi.rmi.object.trust.url codebase and com.sun.jdndi cost naming objects trust URL codebase are set to false, mitigating this risk. However, enabling these system property requires access to the vulnerable servers as well as a restart, reads the GitHub page set up for the Log4Shell project. Cybereason experts pointed out that enabling these system property requires access to the vulnerable servers, and the servers have to be restarted, as I just said. Swedish automotive manufacturer Volvo Cars revealed that threat actors have stolen R&D data from its systems. In 2010, Volvo Cars became a subsidiary of the Chinese manufacturer Geely Holding Group, which confirmed that it has been aware that one of its file repositories has been illegally accessed by a third party. Investigations so far confirmed that a limited amount of company's R&D property has been stolen during the intrusion, states Volvo. The company warned that there may be an impact on the company's operation from the hack, sending its stock falling 3.5% in Stockholm to 72.44 kroners, or $8, or $8 or €7. Volvo notified relevant authorities and retained third-party experts to investigate the incident. Volvo Cars has become aware that one of its file repositories has been illegally accessed by a third party. Investigations so far confirmed that a limited amount of the company's R&D property has been stolen during the intrusion. Volvo Cars has earlier today concluded, based on information available, that there may be an impact to the company's operation, reads the notice of the cybersecurity breach published by Volvo. After detecting the unauthorized access, the company immediately implemented security countermeasures, including steps to prevent further access to its property, and notified relevant authorities. The company pointed out that the cyber attack had no impact on the safety or security of its customers, cars, or their personal data. A spokesperson for Volvo Cars told AFP that the company had not been hit by ransomware and never lost control of its data, but Bleeping Computer first reported that the Snatch ransomware gang has already claimed the attack. Snatch ransomware operators already leaked 35.9 megabytes of documents allegedly stolen from Volvo servers. The spokesman also revealed that the car manufacturer was contacted by a third party about the information theft, but did not provide details about the exchange. The Australian Cybersecurity Centre, or ACSC, warns of Conti ransomware attacks against multiple Australian organisations from various sectors since November. The ACSC is aware of multiple instances of Australian organisations that have been impacted by Conti ransomware in November and December 2021. This activity has happened across multiple sectors. Victims have received demands for ransom payments. In addition to the encryption of data and the subsequent impact to organizations' ability to operate as usual, victims have had data stolen during incidents published by the ransomware actors, including personally identifiable information, reads the advisory published by the cybersecurity agency. Conti operators run a private ransomware as a service operation. The malware appeared in the threat landscape at the end of December 2019 and was distributed through TrickBot infections. Experts speculate that the operators are members of the Russia-based cybercrime group known as Wizard Spider. Since August 2020, the group has launched its leak site to threaten its victims to release the stolen data. Conti operators claim to have already compromised at least 500 organizations worldwide. Recently, the Conti gang made an attack on the Australian Energy CS Energy and threatened to leak the stolen files. The ACSC also published a ransomware profile for the Conti gang that contains information about the operators or operations of the group, including mitigations. The ACSC has observed an increase in domestic and global Conti activity throughout 2021. Conti affiliates are known to implement the double extortion technique by uploading exfiltrated victim data to their dedicated leak site and threatening to release victim data in tranches if the ransom is not paid, reads the ransomware profile. The threat actors involved in the deployment of the Conti ransomware frequently change attack patterns and quickly take advantage of newly disclosed vulnerabilities to compromise and operate within networks before network owners are able to apply patches or mitigations. In September, CISA, the Federal Bureau of Investigations, and the National Security Agency also warned of an increased number of Conti gang attacks against U.S. organizations. WordFence researchers spotted a massive wave of attacks in the days that are targeting, or in the last few days, that are targeting over 1.6 million WordPress sites from 16,000 IPs. Today, on December 9th, 2021, our threat intelligence team noticed a drastic uptick in attacks targeting vulnerabilities that make it possible for attackers to update arbitrary options on vulnerable sites. This led us into an investigation which uncovered an active attack targeting over 1 million WordPress sites, reads the post published by WordFence. Over the past 36 hours, the WordFence network has blocked over 13.7 million attacks targeting 4 different plugins and several Epsilon framework themes across over 1.6 million sites and originating from over 16,000 different IP addresses. The attacks are originating from 16,000 IP addresses and are targeting these 4 plugins and 15 Epsilon framework themes. Experts notice that in most cases, the threat actors are enabling the user con register option and setting the default role option to administrator. Then the attackers are able to register on any site as an administrator and take over the site. Site admins could determine if their site has been compromised by reviewing the user accounts on the site to determine if there are any unauthorized user accounts. Indicators of compromise include the presence of a vulnerable version of any of the plugins or themes along with the presence of a rogue user account. Researchers recommend removing any rogue accounts and updating your plugins and themes as soon as possible. Experts also recommend reviewing the settings in your whatever your site's domain is /wp-admin/optionsgeneral.php page, focusing on membership and new user default role settings. A list of the affected plugins are Publish Press Capabilities, less than version 2.3, Kiwi Social Plugin, less than version 2.0.10, Pinterest Automatic, less than version 4.14.3, WordPress Automatic, less than version 3.5.3.2. The targeted Epsilon framework themes are Shapely, Newsmag, ActiveLow, ILD, Allegiant, NewspaperX, Pixova Lite, Brilliance, Medzone Lite, Regina Lite, Transcend, Affluent, Bonkers, and Antrius. Dark Mirai botnet spreads by exploiting a new vulnerability tracked to CVE 2021-41653 affecting TP-Link TL-WR840N EU version 5 home routers. The ping function on the TP-Link TL-WR840N EU version 5 router with firmware through TL blah 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 version 5.17.12.11 is vulnerable to remote code execution via a crafted payload in an IP address input field, reads the description from the CVE 2021-41653 flaw. TP-Link addressed the flaw on November 12th, 2021 with the release of the firmware update TL WR84N EU version 5 2.1.1.1.09. The vulnerability was discovered by the security researcher Camilio Matek, or at K4M1LL0, who also published a proof-of-concept exploit for the flaw. Researchers from Fortinet reported that botnet operators added the exploit for this RCE to their operation only 2 weeks after TP-Link released the firmware update. The researchers pointed out that successful exploitation requires authentication of the routers. Like the Mirai botnet, Dark Mirai determines the victim's architecture to fetch and deploy the matching payload. Then the bot blocks connections to commonly targeted ports to prevent other malware from infecting the device. Once installed the malware, it waits for a command from the command and control server to perform some variation of a distributive denial of service. Distributive service attack. Fortinet published a list of indicators of compromise for the recent attacks. So again, I highly suggest you check out Fortinet's full documentation on this. Sakuri researchers are warning of threat actors injecting credit card swipers into random plugins of e-commerce WordPress sites. The holiday season is the period where online scammers and threat actors intensify their operations. Sakuri researchers have spotted a dangerous trend. Threat actors are injecting the e-skimmers into WordPress plugin files instead of the WordPress admin or WordPress includes core directories, which are more monitored. While analyzing the logs of a compromised e-store, researchers noticed some changes to plugins and theme files. The attackers know that most security plugins for WordPress contain some way to monitor the file integrity of core files, that is, the files in the WP admin, WP includes directories. This makes any malware injected into these files very easy to spot even by less experienced website administrators. The next logical step for them would be to target the plugin and theme files, reads the analysis published by Security. Security researchers discovered that attackers were able to inject a backdoor into the site files to gain persistence. This means that the attacker can retain access to the e-store even if the administrator installs the latest security updates for WordPress and installed plugins. The backdoor grabs a list of administrators and abuses their authorization cookie and current user login to access the website. Then the attackers add their malicious code to random plugins. Security researchers pointed out that many of the scripts did not contain any typical encoding or obfuscation techniques to avoid detection. The analysis of the code revealed the presence of references to WooCommerce and multiple undefined variables. The researchers discovered that one of these undefined variables references a domain array slice page hosted on an Alibaba server in Germany, which is strange considering that the infected e-store was operated by a business in North America. Another file on the same site revealed the presence of a second injection on the 404 page plugin, which held the actual credit card skimmer using the same approach of hidden variables in unobfuscated code. Using the same approach of the previous file, experts discovered that two variables, the list and message, were used to implement the e-skimmer activity. If you operate an e-commerce website, be sure to be extra cautious during the holiday season. This is when we see attacks and compromises on e-commerce websites at their highest volume, as attackers are poised to make handsome profits from stolen credit card details, concludes the report. Make sure to follow the best security practices, harden your administrative dashboard, and ideally place your website behind a firewall service. JFrog researchers have discovered 17 malicious packages in the NPM Node.js package manager repository that were developed to hijack Discord servers. The libraries allow stealing Discord access tokens and environment variables for systems running, giving the attackers full access to the victim's Discord account. The package's payloads range from info stealers up to backdoors. Experts pointed that the malicious packages use different infection tactics, including type squatting, dependency confusion, and Trojan functionality. We disclosed these 17 malicious packages to the NPM code maintainers, and the packages were promptly removed from the NPM repository. A good indication that these packages are indeed causing issues, reads the report published by the experts. Luckily, these packages were removed before they could rack up a large number of downloads based on the NPM records, so we managed to avoid a scenario similar to our last PyPy disclosure, where the malicious packages were downloaded tens of thousands of times, I think it was like 41,000, before they were detected and removed. The good news is that the packages were promptly removed from the NPM repository before they reached a large number of downloads. The threat actors behind these packages focus on Discord accounts for multiple reasons, such as using the Discord service as part of the command and control infrastructure behind malware campaigns, using the Discord server as an anonymous exfiltration channel, spreading malware to Discord users, selling stolen Discord Nitro premium accounts. Researchers highlighted the availability of a lot of Discord token grabbers on GitHub, along with build instructions due to the popularity of the platform as an attack vector. This means that an attacker can easily develop its custom malware without extensive programming skills in a few minutes. It's important to note these payloads are less likely to be caught by antivirus solutions versus a full-on rat backdoor, since a Discord stealer does not modify any files. It does not register itself anywhere to be executed on, like, next boot, for example, and does not perform suspicious operations such as spawning child processes, concludes the report. Now, here's the list of packages discovered by the experts. Prerequisite Xcode, Discord Selfbot V, Discord Lofi, Discord System, Discord Vileo, Fix Error, Trojan Wafer Bind, Wafer Autocomplete, Wafer Beacon, Wafer Cas, Wafer Toggle, Wafer Geolocation, Wafer Image, Wafer Form, Wafer Lightbox, Octavius Public, and MRG Message Broker. The Mirai-based Moobot botnet is rapidly spreading by exploiting a critical command injection flaw tracked to CVE 2021-36260 in the web server of several Hikvision products. The Moobot was first documented by Palo Alto Unit 42 researchers in February 2021. The recent attacks demonstrated that its authors are enhancing their malware. Now, you might notice that this is the second or third time I've talked about the Mirai bot, or a variant thereof. It's because the Mirai botnet is core to many of these different variants and is a very successful botnet. The critical issue affects more than 70 Hikvision camera and NVR models and can allow attackers to take over the devices. The vulnerability is an unauthenticated remote code execution vulnerability in Hikvision IP camera NVR firmware. It was discovered by a security researcher that goes online with the moniker Watchful IP. Upon compromising the IP camera, an attacker can also use the hacked device to access internal networks, posing a risk to the infrastructure that uses the devices. The researcher pointed out that the exploitation of the issue doesn't require user interaction. The attacker only needs access to the HTTPS server port, typically 80 or 443. The expert pointed out that every firmware developed since 2016 has been tested and found to be vulnerable. According to Hikvision, vulnerability is due to insufficient input validation and can be exploited by sending specially crafted messages to vulnerable devices. The company states that the attacker can exploit the flaw only if he has access to the device network or the device has direct interface with the internet. The vulnerability was reported to the vendor in June. The company released firmware updates on September 19th. The vulnerability was exploited by botnet operators to extract sensitive data from unpatched devices, Fortinet researchers reported. During our analysis, we observed numerous payloads attempting to leverage this vulnerability by probing the status of devices or extracting sensitive data from victims. One payload in particular caught our attention. It tries to drop a downloader that exhibits infection behavior and that also executes Moobot, which is a DDoS botnet based on Mirai, reads the analysis published by Fortinet. Fortinet researchers spotted a downloader for the Moobot malware with the Hikvision parameter. It saves final payload as Mac helper. The malware also modifies basic commands like reboot to prevent an administrator from rebooting the infected device. Fortinet researchers found similarities between Moobot and Mirai. They also discovered that Moobot borrows some elements from the Satori botnet. Moobot is a DDoS botnet that supports multiple attack methods. Security researchers, including the ones at Cyber News, routinely use search engines that index publicly accessible Internet of Things devices and web servers for threat intelligence. This helps researchers warn users and organizations that their data is being exposed and help them plug the leaks. Back in September, while gathering intelligence on an IoT search engine, the security researchers at Cyber News stumbled upon a DS Store file that was apparently stored on a web server owned by Microsoft Vancouver. Leaving DS Store files on remote web servers is dangerous because they display their folder structure, which may result in leaks of sensitive or confidential data. This is exactly what happened with the leftover DS Store file present on the Microsoft Vancouver web server. By analyzing the file, our investigations team was able to learn about the files hosted on the Microsoft Vancouver server, as well as several database dump files stored on the server. These database dumps contained multiple administrator usernames and email addresses, as well as the hashed password for Microsoft Vancouver's WordPress website. According to the company's website, Microsoft Vancouver is home to teams that work on developing a variety of Microsoft products, including Notes, MSN, Gears of War, Skype, and mixed reality applications both for desktop and for HoloLens. On September 27th, CyberNews researchers reached out to Microsoft Canada via their official contact email in order to report their findings and help secure the exposed file. By taking a look at the leftover DS Store file, the security researchers could easily see the contents of the server folder, which included a SQL database configuration file and a database dump file. Researchers also found that both the SQL database and the dump file contained WordPress database dumps, which, among other things, stored multiple administrator usernames and email addresses, as well as the hashed administrator password for Microsoft Vancouver's WordPress website. Security vendor SonicWall urges customers using the SMA100 series appliances to apply security patches that address multiple security vulnerabilities, some of which have been rated as critical. SonicWall has verified and patched vulnerabilities of critical and medium severity, CVSS 5.3 to 9.8 severity score, in SMA100 series appliances, which include SMA 200, 210, 400, 410, and 500V products. SMA100 series appliances with WAF enabled are also impacted by the majority of these vulnerabilities, reads the advisory published by the company. SonicWall strongly urges that organizations follow the guidance below to patch SMA 100 series products, which include 200, 210, 400, 410, and 500V appliances. Affected products are, again, SMA 200, 210, 400, 410, and 500V appliances. The most severe vulnerabilities addressed by the SonicWall are two critical stack-based buffer overflow vulnerabilities tracked as CVE 2021-20038 and CVE 2021-20045, respectively. A remote attacker can trigger two vulnerabilities to potentially execute as the nobody user in compromised appliances. A stack-based buffer overflow vulnerability in SMA 100 Apache HTTP servers mod CGI module environment variables allows a remote unauthenticated attacker to potentially execute code as a nobody user in the appliance. This vulnerability affected, again, SMA 200, 210, 400, 410, and 500V appliances, firmwares 10.20.8-37SV, 10.2.11-19SV, 10.2.1.2-24SV, and earlier versions, reads the advisory for the CVE 2021-20038 flaw. SonicWall is not aware of attacks in the wild exploiting the following vulnerabilities. The company said that there are no temporary mitigations for the above issues. Experts pointed out that a high-severity authenticated command injection vulnerability tracked as CVE 2021-20039 has yet to be addressed. A ransomware cyber attack hit a major energy network operated by CS Energy that attack could have had dramatic consequences, leaving millions of homes without energy. The attack took place on Saturday, November 27th. Experts believe it was launched by Chinese hackers. The attack was detected and neutralized just in time before it had the potential to shut down 2 major thermal coal plants. If the attack had been successful, 3,500 megawatts of power would have been taken out of the grid, enough for between 1.4 and 3 million homes, reported the website news.com.au. The quick response of CS Energy avoided the catastrophe. The CEO, Andrew Bills, explained that the company isolated the corporate network from the Callide and Cogan Creek power stations to prevent impacting their generators. The company notified federal and state agencies and retained cybersecurity experts to investigate the incident. Google announced to have taken down the infrastructure operated by the GLUPTEBA. It also sued Russian nationals Dmitry Starovikov and Alexandra Filipov for creating and operating the botnet. The blockchain-enabled botnet has been active since at least 2011. Researchers estimate that the GLUPTEBA botnet is currently composed of more than 1 million Windows PCs around the world. The botnet was involved in stealing users' credentials and data, mining cryptocurrencies, abusing victims' resources, and setting up proxies to funnel other people's internet traffic through infected machines and routers. Botnet operators used to spread the malware via cracked and pirated software and pay-per-install schemes. Google announced to have removed around 63 million Google Docs files used as part of the GLUPTEBA operation to distribute the bot to the victims. The IT giant also removed 1,183 Google accounts, 908 cloud projects, and 870 Google Ads accounts used by the operators. Taiwanese vendor QNAP warns customers of threat actors targeting their NAS devices with cryptocurrency miners. Upon compromising the devices, the miner will create a new process named _Reaper that allows threat actors to mine Bitcoin. The above process could occupy around 50% of the total CPU usage while mimicking a kernel process, but the vendor notices that the associated PID is usually greater than 1,000. A Bitcoin miner has been reported to target QNAP NAS. Once a NAS is infected, CPU usage becomes unusually high, where a process named Reaper could occupy around 50% of the total CPU usage. This process mimics a kernel process, but its PID is usually greater than 1,000, reads the advisory published by the vendor. We strongly recommend users to act immediately to protect their device. Customers can contact the company through the QNAP help desk for any questions regarding this campaign. Now, the Bitcoin miner employed in the campaign seems to lack a persistence mechanism. This means that restarting the device may remove the malware. Microsoft announced to have obtained a court warrant that allowed it to seize 42 domains used by a China-linked APT15 group, aka Nickel, Key3 Chano, or Key3 Chano? Key3 Trang, Mirage, Vixen Panda, Royal Apt, and Playful Dragon in recent operations that targeted organizations in the US and 28 other countries. APT15 has been active since at least 2010. It conducted cyber espionage campaigns against targets worldwide in several industries, including defense, high-tech, energy, government, aerospace, and manufacturing. The attackers demonstrated an increasing level of sophistication across the years. They used custom malware and various exploits in their attacks. According to Tom Burt, Microsoft VP of Customer Security and Trust, the seized domains had been used for intelligence gathering from government agencies, think tanks, and human rights organizations. Microsoft claims to have blocked the registration of 600,000 sites that threat actors planned to use in attacks in the wild. Mondiant researchers have identified 2 distinct clusters of activity tracked as UNC 3004 and UNC 2652 that were associated with the Russia-linked Nobelium Apt group, or aka UNC 2452. The Nobelium Apt, or Apt29, Cozy Bear, and the Dukes, is the threat actor that conducted supply chain attack against SolarWinds, which involved multiple families of implants, including the Sunburst backdoor, Teardrop malware, Goldmax malware, Cybot, and Goldfinder backdoors. Nobelium focuses on government organizations, non-government organizations, or NGOs, think tanks, military, IT service providers, health technology, and research and telecommunications providers. The Nobelium cyber spies use they are using a new custom downloader tracked by the researchers as C-Loader. Mondiant research spotted multiple supply chain attacks carried out by the apt. Threat actors compromised service providers and used the privileged access and credentials belonging to the hacked providers to target their customers. The researchers also cited another breach where the threat actors gained access to the target organization's Microsoft 365 environment using a stolen session token. The state-sponsored hackers used the CryptBot password stealer to harvest valid session tokens that were used to authenticate to the Microsoft 365 environment. Nobelium cyber spies leveraged compromised privileged accounts and used SMB, remote WMI, remote scheduled task registration, and PowerShell to execute commands within the target environments. Experts pointed out that the attackers used the protocols to perform reconnaissance, distribute Cobalt Strike beacons in the compromised network, and run native Windows commands to steal credentials. C-Loader is a custom downloader written in C and supports the execution of shellcode payloads in memory. C-Loader communicates via HTTP, while the command and control response is decrypted using 8ES256 in CBC mode. The researchers noticed that the loader does not implement a persistence mechanism. In some campaigns analyzed by Mondiant, the threat actor was using residential IP address ranges to authenticate to targeted environments. The access was likely obtained through residential and mobile IP address proxy providers. A cyber attack hit the international supermarket franchise Spar, impacting the operations at 330 shops in northeast England. Many stores were forced to close or switch to cash-only payments after the attack. Spar operates 13,320 stores in 48 countries as of 2019, but the cyber attack hit only stores in Lancashire County. The attack took place over the weekend, and today some stores remain closed. Lawrence Hunt & Co. Limited, which operates 25 branches across the country, confirmed that the outage affected tills, credit cards, and bank office systems across the Spar network. According to the Lancashire Post website, the website for Preston Food distributor James Hall & Co., which provides stock and hundreds of Spar shops across North England, was offline. The company did not provide details about the attack, but public information about the incident suggests it is a ransomware attack. The UK's National Cybersecurity Centre informed consumers that it was aware of an incident affecting Spar. The Delta Montrose Electric Association, or DMEA, is a local electric cooperative located in Colorado. It is part of Touchstone Energy Cooperatives. The company has discovered a security breach on November 7th. The attack disrupted phone, email, billing, and customer account systems. The company also confirmed that internal documents had been corrupted, a circumstance that suggests the DMEA was hit by a ransomware attack. At the time of this writing, no ransomware gang has claimed responsibility for the security breach. 90% of internal controls and systems were corrupted by the cyber attack, and most of the historical data dating back more than 20 years was compromised. DMEA retained forensic experts to investigate the scope of the incident. DMEA pointed out it hasn't found evidence that sensitive data was compromised due to its security breach. In a recent update, the company declared that it estimates it will be able to resume member billing in the week of December 6th to December 10th. Cryptocurrency trading platform Bitmart has disclosed a security breach. Threat actors stole $150 million in various cryptocurrencies. We have identified a large-scale security breach related to one of the Ethereum hot wallets and one of the BSC hot wallets today. At this moment, we're still concluding the possible methods used by hackers who were able to withdraw assets of the value of approximately $150 million reads the security breach notice published by the company. Bitmart's chief executive Sheldon Jia revealed in a series of tweets that the attackers stole a stolen private key for two of their hot wallets that were compromised. The platform has temporarily suspended withdrawals until further notice. Jia also said that it plans to resume the operations on December 7th. Jia added that the affected Ethereum hot wallet and BSC hot wallet carry a small percentage of assets on Bitmart. All of its other wallets are secure. Researchers from blockchain security company PeckShield are analyzing the transactions associated with the cyber heist and estimate the total loss to be around $200 million. Recently, other major attacks made the headlines, such as the security breaches suffered by Cream Finance, Liquid, Badgedale, and BZX. All of which, except actually for BZX, I've done episodes on. I highly recommend you check them out so that you can stay up to date in terms of how secure Bitcoin or blockchain is versus the providers of wallets and exchanges. Multiple employees are sharing on Twitter and Reddit the images of anti-work messages sent to the printers of their organizations. The messages encourage workers to protect their rights and discuss their pay with coworkers and demand better pay. The posts were made on the r/anti-work subreddit, which describes itself as a community for those who want to end work, are curious about ending work, want to get the most out of the work-free life, want more information on anti-work ideas, and want personal help with their own jobs or work-related struggles, reports Metro. The printed receipt encouraged employees to form unions because unions are the only organizations that could easily align everyone's goals. It is not clear who is behind this campaign. Someone speculates it is an operation conducted to discredit and make the r/anti-work subreddit appear illegal. Andrew Morris, the co-founder of cybersecurity firm Grey Noise, told Motherboard that threat actors are sending these printing jobs all over the internet indiscriminately. The messages reached misconfigured printers exposed to the internet, and using Shodan, it's possible to find thousands of printers exposed online. Morris also added that the messages are distributed to the printers from tens of servers. In 2018, the hacker Giraffe used the Printer Exploitation Toolkit, or PRET, to hijack 50,000 vulnerable printers to promote PewDiePie, the YouTube channel. In August 2020, cybersecurity experts at Cyber News hijacked close to 28,000 unsecured printers worldwide and forced them to print out a guide on printer security. Talos researchers spotted a series of malvertising campaigns using fake installers of popular apps and games as a lure to trick users into downloading a new backdoor and an undocumented malicious Google Chrome extension. According to Talos, the threat actor has been active at least since 2018. Experts observed intermittent activity towards the end of 2019 and through early 2020. The group resurfaced in April 2021. The malvertising campaigns targeted users in Canada, the US, Australia, Italy, Spain, and Norway. Upon executing the fake installers, they execute the following pieces of malware on the victim system: a password stealer called Redline Stealer, an auto IT-based backdoor used to establish a remote access via a stealth Microsoft Remote Desktop session by forwarding the RDP port through an SSH tunnel. The backdoor allows access to infected systems even when behind a firewall. A malicious browser extension dubbed Magnet Extension that contains several information-stealing features such as keylogging and taking screenshots. Cisco Talos researchers attributed the campaigns to an unknown threat actor tracked as Magnet. The experts noticed that the group is reportedly updating the malware families. The Magnet extension, which masquerades as Google's safe browsing, allows attackers to steal form data, harvest cookies, and also execute arbitrary JavaScript code on the victim's system. The algorithm for getting the domain from the tweet is simple as effective. It concatenates the first letter of each word of the content of a tweet. The tweet squishy, turbulent areas terminate active round engines after dank years, industry creepy units that contains the hashtag Aquamamba2019 is translated to stateready.icu. Once an active command and control server is available, the data are sent in JSON format in the body of an HTTP request. The JSON string is encrypted. We move on to other security news. The wave of cybercrime is plowing throughout America with the biggest damages in history. Atlas VPN extracted data from publicly available government sources and found that U.S. citizens are already lost $3.49 billion to cybercrime in the first 3 quarters of 2021. You don't need to bring out the calculator. The damages come out to $12.78 million per day. Cybercriminals are using the buzz around cryptocurrencies, NFTs, and the metaverse to trick people into investing in bogus projects that disappear after raising a hefty sum of money. The data for the analysis is based on reports submitted through the official Federal Trade Commission websites, identitytheft.gov and reportfraud.ftc.gov. Citizens can get help by receiving personal identity theft recovery plans. Regarding monetary damages, the FTC does not resolve the allegations, but it does disseminate the information to over 3,000 law enforcement agencies across the United States for further investigation. The analysis reveals that cybercrime damages skyrocketed by 82.91% in 2021 compared to the last year. To be exact, people lost $1.58 billion more dollars, yes, billion, this year than they did in the same period in 2020. Last year, the number of reports stood at 1.09 million after the first 3 quarters of the year, which is around a third less than in 2021, or it must be billion. Back then, they had to go through 3,981 complaints daily. Unsurprisingly, imposter scams are still at the top of the list. In 2020, imposter fraud swindled $838 million out of unsuspecting victims, while in 2021, damages jumped by 92.24% to $1.61 billion. Among the top reports, we also saw online shopping scams, which tricked people into sending $295 million directly into the pockets of cybercriminals. Online shopping fraud is also becoming substantially more popular since losses to these types of scams are inflated by 77.71% since last year. With that, I say thanks again for watching. Don't forget to share and subscribe if you haven't already, and smash the bell if you haven't already, and I'll see you on the next episode. Take care.
Don't forget to ride!